Okay, welcome to BackChat. Of course, we sit down with guests every week. And this man I've been wanting to interview for quite some time. We're very lucky to have in the chair
Can't believe we got him.
Mark Skeeter Reddings. Hello, mate.
Good get. Well done by you, Scully and Dan. I'm really proud of the fact you've been able to drag me in here.
Well, we have been able to drag you in here. We just tacked it onto one of the other things. No, I've actually wanted to do this for quite some time, mate, so I'm excited about it. I know you're a big fan of social media and what we do here at BackChat, Skeet, so no doubt you know what question's coming here. We ask the first question. It's the same every week. We want to know your greatest sporting achievement, thanks to TABtouch this season. And of course, the podcast brought to you by Paywise, powered by Paywise in season 2025.
Powering yourself question, as well.
Your greatest sporting achievement. Now, usually when we interview, an Adam Gilchrist or Matthew Pavlich, you can't use your sport of origin, right? So you can't use footy if you're a football player. But I'm going to, given you're a broadcaster, you can take your pick. It can go right back to your childhood days. It looks like you have it ready for me. Your greatest sporting achievement, not on the media landscape, I suppose. Give us your greatest sporting achievement.
Look, I won a fairest and best playing for Trinity, but that's going back to year 9. But
so PSA
year
9,
year
good,
9, and then,
like that.
Yeah, next year I did an ACL. So that was, but I think if you're trying to, outside of my natural habitat, I would suggest going back, I reckon I was 19, 20, and I'd been to the races, Belmont Park, and I was with Dean Capobianco, who was just on his way to winning a stall gift. And I said,
do you know who he is? He's a sprinter, unbelievable sprinter.
Oh, right, okay.
Like best in Australia.
Yeah. And so I went to school with him. And I said, mate, okay, you reckon you're smart? Mate, I'll take you on. So I had a race against him. We had our suits on, but I beat him in the car park over 100 metres. And so if you're looking for something a bit outside the square, so one of Australia's Olympian, I beat him in the car park.
That's so good.
Admittedly, I'm not sure we're both fit to drive, but we still got to our destination.
What year was this?
Oh, I can't remember, Will, because it's probably 30 years ago.
Give me like approximate. I'm just looking at his career.
Would have been late 80s, early 90s.
So in 1990, he won the stall gift.
Yeah.
In 93, he made the World Athletics Championship final in Stuttgart, Germany, and he ran the 200 in 20.1 seconds. And you've knocked him off at Belmont Racecourse car park.
Yeah, no. Well, I was actually relatively quick as a teenager, but it fell away.
Plus, just news just in that we're reading here.
First line, an arbitration panel also found Capobianco guilty of taking anabolic steroids for 10 months.
You beat a man on steroids.
Well, I don't think he was.
No.
I think everything was above board. And I will just say this: I wouldn't say I was totally clean because I reckon I had a few drinks myself that day.
Yeah, very good. Hey mate, I'm keen to know from a broadcasting point of view how all that started for you. I know your old man was a broadcaster, so was it sort of something like that? You saw him doing it, and that's the way it goes.
A bit like that. So my folks separated when I was about 4. So I was in Brisbane, and Mum said, she left Dad, came to Perth, and so essentially lived on the other side of the country. But Dad was working in the media, had for a long time, and I think it's always been in my blood that I wanted to follow in his footsteps, and whether it was the broadcasting, commentary, it's something that I've always thought I'd like to do. I remember as a kid just listening to the radio. Mum wouldn't let me kick the footy inside, so I had a balloon. I'd kick the balloon around and commentate to myself. Only child, and he'd go and play pool against myself and play against bloke John, who's an invisible bloke you play against. So when you're by yourself, you tend to do these sorts of things.
John.
Yeah, we did. I've always wanted to follow in his footsteps, I guess, in that sense. So, unlike a lot of people didn't know what they wanted to do when they were 10, 12, 15, 20, or even in their 20s, I sort of knew what I wanted to do, and that was to be in the media, broadcast sport, and then I, sort of took the steps necessary to do that. And he was quite a big name over there in Queensland. So it was, for me, it was a bit daunting as I got into my teenage years. I got offered work in Brisbane, a cadetship, etc. But I decided not to take that on because, I'd been to school there for 1 year, because I just felt a bit overawed by being in his shadow, which,
So he read the news.
He read the news, read the sport on Channel 10 up there.
And was commentating as well?
Not so much a commentator, he was more a presenter. So, and he hosted Olympic Games, etc. So, I can understand footballers or anyone that their dad's quite prominent and does a good job. You want to prove to them that you're good, but I didn't also want to try and get a job in Brisbane where it was a case of he's got the job because he's
Nepo baby.
Rob Nepo baby, yeah, Rob Redding's son. So I stayed in Perth and forged my own career, albeit always looking for validation that he would be proud of me, which he was.
Were you born in Canada?
I was born in Canada.
So how does that work? I've never asked you how that actually works. I just give you shit about it. But
So my dad, who's Australian, but was essentially, long story short, he came out as an orphan from Scotland, born, I think, in a prison, which is pretty bloody bizarre. Came out, and Fairbridge was a place where he grew up, which is in Pinjarra. That was an orphanage. So he grew up here and went on and obviously met my mum at some stage on the East Coast, I think it was. And so he got asked to go over, he was working in broadcasting, to go and do some radio work in Canada. Obviously 1969, 1970, what it was, and for a mate of his. And so he went over there. Mum was pregnant, and so I was born in Canada. And the poor mum, she was in labour back then in 1970 for 5 days, and then I weighed 11 pounds. So Dad went on radio and he said, "Look, I'm just very proud of my wife, Bernadette's just given birth to a son, Mark. He's
giant,
26 inches or something, and weighed 11 pounds. And the Canadians, of course, jumped on and said, your wife hasn't given birth to a baby; she's given birth to a little elephant." So, so I was a fat thing born. And poor old Mum, I always say to people at Sports and Science, guess how many kids Mum had after that? None.
So do you have any sort of claim to Canada then? Do you have do you get a passport or something?
I think dual citizenship. I'm very proud of my Canadian heritage. I was there for about 4 months afterwards before I came back to Australia. But why not use that when times are tough? Why not just bring that out and mention Pamela Anderson and Celine Dion and Wayne Gretzky? Why not bring out all that stuff?
That's bloody good. So you played footy growing up. You said that, I want to know sort of what's the transition between playing sport and then working in the media, because I reckon there'll be kids listening or people listening that go, well, I want to, I love sport, but I'm not good enough to play at the top level. And was there a moment, maybe it was the ACL you did, or was there a moment where you thought, oh, well, I'm not going to play, I'm going to work in commentary and presenting?
Yeah, I think deep in my heart, I knew that was probably my number one option, was being broadcasting, because it's hard. It's a tough gig, as you would know, that to have any sort of talent and then translate that into progressing to any moderate level is difficult. So no, I think once I did my knee at 15 and had the knee reconstruction, I knew then that I was never going to get there. But that was fine by me. I just kept sort of pushing on and so I went to end of year 12. My TE school, they're called TEs back then, like here in WA. I think I got 280, and people will hear that and laugh.
That sounds like a good number.
It was out of 500, which wasn't probably as high as I'd like.
You shouldn't say that far.
But I'm being honest. Others were so desperate to go to university. I thought, no, I'm finishing this. Everyone went on school leavers and went to Roto and went down south. I went into radio stations and started dropping off little cassettes and trying to get work experience. And so I ended up doing that at a radio station, and did that from, I think, February of the following year after year 12, and got a cadetship 2 months later, just coming in day after day after day.
6
before,
p.m.?
Yeah, 6 p.m., which is now, I think it's now 94, not 94.5, I think it's Triple M now, I think. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, 92.9.
What was on the cassette tapes? Are you commentating or you presenting radio station?
Yeah, a bit of that, bit of just news reading, because obviously coming as a journalist. So, yeah, that was the start. When I was 18, had a cadetship. That was terrific. I was in the workforce. I was loving it. Didn't have to go to uni. I didn't qualify to go to uni, so I found a job, which I think you could do back then. You could find a way, if you showed a bit of front and went and said to yourself, Will, Dan, I want a job. I'm going to work hard, and you didn't have to show a piece of paper. Whereas obviously,
So why don't you think you can't? This is a bit of a bigger picture, but why don't you think that doesn't happen now? Because as a business owner now and working in media now, I still think that holds true. I'm just listening to you, rolling around dropping your tapes off. If someone did that now, I think that would get attention. Or do you just think it's too hard?
No, not at all. I just think that the mindset is to go and get a degree, and a lot of business operators or CEOs, etc., whoever it is, you're going to listen to a guy primarily or a girl that's got a degree next to their name, as opposed to someone who comes off the street and says, I'm keen, I'm hungry, but you've got to prove yourself. And so, that was just the way I did it. It's not the way that everyone should go about it, but back in those days, and look, through my dad and media contacts and my stepmum, I was able to get a foot in the door for work experience. And then once you get in there, it's just keep coming back until they have to employ you.
Yeah, I can guarantee you, after doing a journalism degree myself, you didn't miss out on
No,
anything.
no, exactly. So I don't feel
Anything.
I don't feel robbed of 3 or 4 years of my life.
I always think with AFL players that are father-son, we've interviewed some on this show, around the feedback the parents give. Like some are at one end, parents are just like, do whatever you want. I'm not telling you how to be a football player. I would say some are at the other end where it's like, you're going to be my shadow and this is how it was working.
Yeah.
What about you with your old man? What was that relationship like in terms of your work?
Yeah, it's hard because I didn't spend much time with him in my life because I was on the other side of the country. I think I only spent a year when I was a teenager when I had my knee done, the knee reco. I got it done in Queensland because my mum and my stepdad had gone up to Darwin. I didn't want to go up to Darwin, so I went, I'll go to Queensland. And I loved my time there, but I didn't spend a lot of time with him. We sort of, it's hard to explain. You have this close, we're so similar, same sort of desire in the media. I want to be in the media. We, both, as it turned out, like to have a drink and have a punt on a weekend. So we're very similar, good and bad. And so, I certainly admired what he did. And used him for advice, but I didn't spend much of my life with him. It was, before he passed away, probably maybe 4 or 5 years of my life. But he was, someone absolutely I lent on for advice.
Maybe aspirationally, rather than like one-on-one mentoring around your craft. It was more like,
I just wanted to keep him in the loop because I'm over in WA that I'm still doing good things and I'm improving. He was supportive, but I suppose you always wanted to prove to your parents that you're succeeding if they're not on hand to see it all.
And it's different. Like it wouldn't be able to just like go online and listen to. I'm going to listen to
exactly
digitally or whatever.
No, back in those times. I know you think it's prehistoric, but that was the case. You basically had to send something. Oh, Dad, this is what I did. I'm reading the news. I'm doing this on radio. I'm presenting this. So that was part of the. I guess when your parents separate, that's what happens.
So what about mentors earlier on? Do you think back when you first started about some people that really taught you the ropes in the media landscape? Like I've got a few of those here in Perth. Russell Wolfe being probably my first one. Simon Beaumont was being really good for me. Was there a couple of guys that really taught you what to do? Because sometimes in media, you don't get a lot of advice from anybody. You're kind of just thrown to the wolves a bit. Yeah. What was your experience like?
Yeah, no, very much so. I mean, and look, early on, David Christensen was a guy who gave me the job. You always remember the bloke that gives you your first job, and if I see him now, I say thank you. So he was terrific, and obviously spent 4 years in radio, and then ended up going to Channel 9, where Michael Thompson, who's obviously still involved at 9, was very much a colleague, but also a mentor in that sense, and taught me the values of journalism, about how to go about getting a story, when to get the information, when to withhold the information from the public, because you're building a trust with the likes of whether it was Mick Malthouse or Brian Cook at the Eagles, or with people that you obviously want to keep as great contacts. So I suppose when you look at it, Christo giving me my first job, Tomo, who I was with for 20 odd years at 9. So they were the two in essence that I lent on in my early days as being someone, in your early 20s to lean on and late teens in radio to get the guidance and give me the opportunity, which was huge.
Someone that taught me at Curtin, Russell Bishop.
Yep.
Ever come across
Russ,
Bishop?
yes.
I think he was at Channel 10 a lot. I'm probably putting some mayo on it, but he paints a picture of like those times of like late 90s, early 2000s, like the golden era of like TV, radio, journalism, where it sounded like Wolf of Wall Street. Like there's so much money. There's so much money in it, like resources. You'd fly a chopper to a story, like that sort of thing. Is that what it was actually like? Yeah,
look, I was there early 90s, and you look back now and think, gee, you're right. The dollars that were thrown around, not so much on us, but in terms of going and sending a chopper to a story. Each station had their own helicopter, and the dollars that the executives would have spent on God knows lunches, and
parties.
It was great times, and even I think the 70s and 80s were probably even better when I was like that. Was just even more wild. But the media landscape has changed so much from that period to now in terms of what dollars are spent, what resources they have, and the staff numbers. Unfortunately, as we know, the numbers are dwindling. and that's the shrinking nature of the media industry, and it's heading more towards, dare I say it, the platform that you guys operate under, which is just the way it is. That's the trend, and it's not changing.
So you've been in media for over 30 years now. Not trying to make you, don't look at me like that. I'm not trying to make you feel old. It's been an impressive career. You've worked on some massive events. So AFL Grand Finals, the Olympics. You've won a Logie, and we'll speak about that around the Bali bombings coverage. You've won a Walkie.
Walkley.
Hey,
Walkley was part of the Bali setup.
You know my pronunciation's never.
No, that's okay. I'm happy to. It's.
So you've worked on radio, you worked in TV, you worked all
Walkley's
these.
like a journo BNF.
Yeah, we don't, as a network we won that, so I didn't specifically grab that, but it was part of the coverage we did. Yes.
So, what do you look back on right now as some of the best stuff that you've worked on, or what's
Yeah, I mean, no question. I mean, from an upbeat point of view, doing grand finals, covering them, best sporting event I've covered. Broadcasting is going to the Olympics in 2012 at the London Games. I mean, I've been to other Olympics, but this was for the Nine Network. I was commentating gymnastics. I was over there, and it was just a great month. And you can ask me what I know about gymnastics. Not a lot.
No, well, that's an interesting question. How do you call gymnastics? And I know all well that haven't been a big gymnastics fan your whole life.
No.
How do you prepare for that?
So I get sent by Nine from Perth to Sydney to look at the National Gymnastics Championships, and a lady called Liz Chetkovich, who was an absolute expert in terms of knowing all the technicalities, everything that the athletes, their background. So she was great just as a mentor. And I'd be sitting in my hotel room in London, for instance, after getting over there, and she'd just drop under my hotel room door notes about athletes. And basically what you do in my situation is not being the expert, is just introducing Dan Const from Australia.
Pommel horse.
Exactly, the pommel horse. Just trying to visualise that with you and your tights on.
You've got the calves.
Yeah, that's true.
And then once you've completed it, half the time Liz would give it that one, and I'd say, Const, he lands magnificently, and Australia has a real chance at gold here in London, or something like that. Anyway, and so I just basically intro the athlete. She would talk through the specifics, the mechanics of the actual performance, or the routine, and then I'd finish it off with. So yeah, it's not as complicated as it sounds, but you just have to have the right blend. And Liz was a great teammate on that 2-week period.
And is there like a media village? Like how does it work?
Well, no, not me. We stayed in a hotel, so it was very nice.
But like, it's a good time,
Yeah, it was
a little bit of time.
No, but not a media village. But we did catch up. The Nine crew, we caught up.
Right.
For instance, to watch the opening ceremony at a pub. But London was just amazing. So, yeah, in terms of Olympics, that was for me just superb, a great experience with some great people. And, yeah, you're seeing guys like, Karl Stefanovic was over there, and you're catching up with these guys, and Kenny Sutcliffe, who used to do a lot of stuff for Nine. And it was just a brilliant time to be covering sport. And, again, that was at a time now when Olympics are held, and whether it's 7, 9, 10, whoever it is, now the number of people sent is scaled right back. A lot is done from the studio, and I've done stuff from the studio, and certainly doesn't have the same buzz to it, obviously, if you're not at the venue. But yeah, that's another example. The media really dragging back the costs, sending all the crew over there compared to commentating off a TV. That's now done quite regularly.
AFL Grand Final, have you called them in person?
Yeah, I've called one here. I've called one in Melbourne. I think it was 17. Yeah, called a lot of footy over the journey in Melbourne for SEN and PR, etc. No, Melbourne's great to go. I quite often people say, "Oh, would you rather call an Eagles St Kilda game here?" Or I said, "I'd rather call Carlton Collingwood at the MCG because I don't have a massive bias towards the Eagles or the Dockers." People say, you hate the Eagles, you hate them. I don't. I actually hope both teams go okay because it makes our job easier, makes it better. I mean, you've got a vested interest having played for a club, but you still have a lot of affection for the Dockers and what they can do. So no, I can guarantee you, I've not, I've
You're
got
a Perth demon.
They're a
nuffy. You're
I
a
haven't
Perth
seen
demon.
Perth winner flags. That's what I want to see. So yeah, on that basis, that level of biasness that everyone thinks that commentators have got. You're always listening for that, but it's not always the reality.
Your bias is like the Gold Coast Suns, it feels like, from the outside.
The Gold Coast Suns.
I don't know, you always seem to be going on about Gold Coast Suns.
No, I think they've it's good to see them play finals and whatever. But I'm happy for October to come, because once footy's over, I'll just go and it's a great 6 months of the year. We love it, but it's also a job, and I'm happy
You've done it a lot of seasons.
a lot of seasons.
Mate, I'm keen to talk about receiving the Logie. And you brought it in a few weeks ago, and I was impressed. But I know, as much as on the other show we talk about, and we have a lot of fun over at the Shelter Footy Cast, I'm probably keen to get a little bit more serious on this side of things with the circumstances around that. And I know how seriously you think about it, given the people impacted. Can you talk us through, I guess, the events that led up to Bali bombings and how you were involved, and then how you were able to cover it?
Yeah, so you're right, because 202 people lost their lives,
Yep.
and then that's it's pretty serious, and one that still sits heavily. When you get out of a situation like that, and other people have lost their lives and families have been ruined because of we occasionally have a laugh, but that's 20 years down the track, just because if you don't, you end up in a corner. So no, essentially, Victoria, my wife, the twin daughters who were 18 months old, my mum and my stepdad, and my cousin and his girlfriend. We all sort of went up to Bali for a holiday. Long story short, we arrived about Saturday early evening, and then I said to my wife, I'm going to go for a quick beer, not a big night, but go out for a drink. It was probably at 10 o'clock with my cousin. He had his girlfriend. My wife, Victoria, stayed with the twins at the hotel, and she said, do not come home late. So there was always just a little message on the way through.
We all received that exact message.
Exactly. So I went to Seminyak. We were staying in Seminyak. It was pretty quiet. In fact, it was really quiet, 10 o'clock, probably 2 or 3 hours early for anything to be going really hard. So we jumped in a cab and ended up going to do probably about 10:30, 10:45, to the Sari Club. And we went in there. It was pretty quiet, few people there. I think we had one beer. Only one beer for whatever reason, which took us 15, 20 minutes. Thought about having it in a second. And I said, okay, it's a bit quiet here. Why don't we go across to Paddy's? So went across to Paddy's, the three of us. Funny when I look back, I had this funny feeling when I was in Sari. For whatever reason, just almost like a premonition. Not that anything like that was going to happen, but just felt a little bit, seems a bit unusual. So I went to Paddy's. My cousin, his girlfriend, went to the bar to get a drink. I said, you know what, I'm going to go and get a cheap packet of cigarettes out the front of Sari Club. So I walked back to the Sari Club, have the blokes have them in their sort of over their shoulder little bag, and paid the 20,000 rupee, whatever it was. Grabbed them, said, I'll have a holiday cigarette, and then walk back into Paddy's. I'm 2 steps back into Paddy's, and bear in mind, if you know Sari and Paddy's, they're probably about 40 metres apart, 30 metres apart, sort of diagonal. As soon as I walk into Paddy's, the explosion. I think obviously it turns out the suicide bomber. So I had no other option but to escape and get out, head to my left, and then try and work out what was happening. And
In Paddy's it went off?
in Paddy's, that was the first one. That was the suicide bomber. So that's where the likes of Peter Hughes, Jason McCartney, those guys were badly injured and hurt. So, within a second, you know that the force of it, you can't stay. You're basically thrown out of the area, and then at that point, it's a case of scrambling. Okay, where do I go? Not knowing that you've probably got 40 seconds before the second bomb's about to go off. So I looked to my right, which is where Sari is, to my right hand side. Cars are banked up, and there's a lot of space to my left. So I headed sort of to my left, and I wasn't running, but I was clearly quite shaken, in shock, and I think I got the best part of 50 metres down the street, and the big explosion went off. That was the car bomb outside of Sari, which did so much damage. And so that was, I thought, shit, this is obviously a pretty deep and dangerous situation, not knowing what it was, but clearly your head's sort of scrambled, and they say you're in fight or flight mode, and at that stage I was in flight mode, but then it kicks in that my cousin and his girlfriend are in Paddy's. And so, within 30 seconds, felt like a minute and a half, within 30 seconds I was sort of thinking, I've got to go and try and find them, because I can't go back to my auntie and say I've just left my cousin and his girlfriend there. So within probably 30 metres or so, luckily in the dark, because the lights have gone out and there's fire everywhere, they come out of the carnage essentially together. And then we rightly or wrongly, we said, let's get the hell out of here, and sort of went the long way back to Seminyak, walking the streets, and there were shop windows shattered, glass shattered within 2 Ks away. So
People just running around, like it's just chaos with the people.
Yeah, pretty much. And look, given I was the first person into Paddy's as the bomb went up, and one of the first out, but the fact that we got out so quickly, you do look back and go, should we have gone back and tried to save other people, help other people? You run through that through your head countless times, but you also bear in mind, okay, I've got my family here, my friend, my cousin, we've got our group. We've just got to get out of here because you're not sure if there's another bomb coming. And so you look back on that. But eventually we get back to Seminyak, knock on the hotel door, and Vic answers it. And, we've got, soot and stuff. And she knew automatically that it was pretty, pretty serious.
Would have been serious for you more so given your kids are there as well. We know they've grown up now and healthy, but, being that close to the action and, your wife there as well.
Yeah, when you get back because you sort of, the first thing you do is you ring up your family on the Gold Coast and you mention something's happened, people have died, but, you've obviously survived. And then I sort of kicked into media mode, and that's, ring up Sydney, get hold of Channel 9 and once you do that, bloody by 5 a.m, you're getting, or 3 a.m, you're getting Jim Whaley from the Sunday morning show ring you up, and you're doing radio crosses across to 9, and then once they know you're on the ground and you've been there, no one else is up there at that stage. You're the only port of call, and the phones are like bricks, and so you're like, for the next 48, 72 hours, I'm like, head spinning, but doing all the crosses. So it was a bizarre time media-wise, and just having so many people at you for every 5 minutes, and you're just like, it's quite overwhelming. And people said, you handle yourself really calmly. I did a thing for 60 minutes and did a lot of news stuff. But your head's just, you're actually in shock, I suppose. So that's where you go through that period of, how long before it actually hits you what you've just been through. And obviously, trying to be respectful of the fact that you've got out alive, but that, so many people haven't. And they had, I always remember people would, when I came back, say, mate, you're the luckiest bloke in the life. Your number wasn't up. And I didn't say it to them. I thought, well, you say it to me, but go and say that to the parent of someone who lost their kid and say their number was up. Yeah, it's pretty hard. It's like, so, it's all well-meaning. People were really, really kind to me about it. But, it's, did it, was it you talk about the Logie War, but seriously, as you know, you're there at a night which was just, it's heavy. And you, don't actually think it makes you a better person either. Like, I probably didn't get the counselling I should have got. And I think you're probably maybe an angry person for a while. Absolutely. And, I wouldn't say I was a great parent or a husband or a person for a while, because I reckon I drank too much, I gambled too much, and maybe a psychologist will say, this is because you're, whatever reason. So, it was a horrible night, but, I've made some good friends out of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've stayed connected to
a bunch of guys. Met guys like, Simon Quayle, who was part of the Kingsley group. They lost a bunch of guys there. And, obviously Peter Hughes and his son Lee, who I've become mates with, and Jason McCartney, who, I wouldn't have met these people otherwise. And, obviously not the best circumstances, but it was a night that, you just hope that those that, those survived have been able to rebuild their lives, and those that have lost loved ones. October 12, I'll be back up there next month, and I'll just go and visit the site, and because I didn't know anyone who died, but it had a pretty deep impact on me because of whether it's the survivor guilt, post-traumatic impact, whatever it is. It's 20 years ago, but going through that there it takes me right back to that spot. Yeah.
So do you is it a dumb question to say, do you just think you're just bloody lucky that you weren't right inside Paddy's? Like, it sounds like you almost should have or could have been.
Well,
right?
if you stay for one more drink at Sari Club, you you're probably definitely gone, because that was the big bomb. And yeah, I think when I got back for 6 months, 12 months, maybe 2 years, I'd sit up in my top room where you've been, and I'd have a drink, and I would just almost go to bed. It'd be a replay. It'd like go over and over your head. Why did I leave? The what ifs, and it's almost it almost brings you to a position where you think you're going mad, because you're repeating an incident over and over and over in your head without having the reason as to why you survived and others didn't. So yeah, I found that hard to rationalise, yeah.
So for people listening, I was trying to bring it back to the audience a bit, and no one can really empathise. Well, I don't know. No one can really understand the situation you've been, and you've talked through it well. So what do you think helped you then? Like, what was it? Just time in terms of after the fact? Like you said, you didn't deal with it well, and you and I have shared around losing fathers, and around different grief with other things with me, around losing our jobs probably about the same time. We had a good laugh about it, but like what do you reckon actually helped you from a practical point of view? Someone who's gone through something, what actually helped you?
I think just going back to work, just trying to get back, and time. And I think it's everything. Like, time is the thing that does heal with grief, and it was a form of grief that I was going through. So definitely time, and yeah, I think you just have to try and get back to some normality, and it also helps having a great family support. To be honest with you, like having a parents and family, wife, kids, and a good bunch of people around you. So that's important. And I, along with other people, had that support there. But you've still got to work on yourself to take yourself from that spot. I sort of always went, well, if I'm this upset with what happened in Bali, I didn't lose anyone. How am I going to be if I lose someone really close to me? That always stuck in my head. How am I going to deal with it if I struggling so much at the moment? And obviously it happened, and it will happen again, I'm sure, with all of us, with losing people. But yeah, that was the thing I couldn't quite comprehend. I felt that bad at that time, and then obviously you learn. It's just dealing with grief, I suppose. And it's, geez, I wish there was an easy answer, but there is none. And you've been through it with your dad and your brother, and it's you can analyse it, but you just got to put the big boy pants on and have a cry, have a beer, have a laugh, and just stay amongst people that love you, because that's all that really matters.
Must have been like a little bit weird when you go back to work and then you're like, oh, someone's done a calf in a game. You just then we're going back to reporting on something. So you're just like,
no, it is. But by the same token, that's what people's passion is, sport, and I understand all that. And I'm not going to say, well, this story is not important because it's not what I've just been through. But yeah, it was a big change coming back from that to here. And yeah, it took me a long time to get back to, the reality of life. And as I said, I didn't handle it well. I probably didn't handle it, put my wife through a fair bit of grief through just completely shutting off from her and the kids. I don't remember it because it was a bit of a haze. But yeah, if I was to learn a lesson, or to try and learn that lesson again, it'd be to maybe let them inside the tent. Emotionally, at least, yeah.
No, I learned the same lessons for what it's worth, like around loss, not going through what you've gone through, but second and third time and fourth time around for me, around losing people. Like, the more you open up and actually speak to people, and especially those close to you, like, which sometimes the opposite happens, like the closest kind of get barred the most. You end up, especially in media, right? When you're in a front-facing position and you're on camera a lot, and you're, now that social media is around, for me personally, you're on fucking socials all the time, and it's like people see that and they're like, oh, whatever. But like, that's just junk, really. And the people closest to you see the real thing. And so opening up, I've got better at doing it around grief, at least.
It's important. Yeah, absolutely. It's important. And it's hard. It's like, yeah, it's, and look, anyone who's watching this or listening to it, that, we're not, we're not two out of a million. A lot of people go through it yearly, and it's a struggle. And losing anyone you love or mates, or it's difficult. So yeah, it's easily the hardest thing I've been through in my life, no doubt.
We didn't really, if I can change tack just a tiny bit to get towards the end, we didn't really speak about the transition from radio to TV. And so, you did, and you still do a lot of radio, but I feel like TV, is a bigger thing than radio. Like, do you remember making that transition for TV stuff? Because like when you're talking about all this like the Logie, there would have been TV elements to your coverage as well, right?
So I did 60 Minutes, and even when I did that, like I had Richard Carlton talking to John Howard, the Prime Minister, and then throwing to me. And it was like, I look back and go, wow. But at the time, I thought it was for New Zealand 60 Minutes. I didn't even know there was that far out of it, and I was just going on autopilot. So, yeah, but the TV side of it, I mean, it's fun. News is great. You know, being involved with big stories, notwithstanding the Bali side of it, but just being involved in news has been great. I've been very, don't get me wrong, I've been privileged to be surviving this long in the media.
Have you, because I know you probably put your feet up a little bit in the terms of the breaking news these days. Like, I think you've handed the baton off to the, whippersnappers running around in bushes still. But I know you were back in the day. Like, can you think of stories you've broken? Like, have you had any big ones where you've been the man for that? You'll know.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, but there's one where Dale Kickett ended up moving from St Kilda to the Eagles, or vice versa, in a day or two, and the footy stories are, as I say, they come and go. To be totally honest, in terms of breaking stories, I wouldn't put down anything mind blowing.
You haven't been a breaker though. I think I don't know. It feels like you've been most comfortable with like the personal stories. Like I remember, I don't know if you remember, like 15 or 18, one of the grand finals, you were in Geelong at Eastern Beach with my whole family. You were doing interviews with Jan, Jace, Rom, the crew.
I enjoy that. Yeah, that's. I mean, and look, I love the news breaking stuff's great and all that goes with it. And so I don't never profess to be the best in the business of it. I remember, going, particularly when it's, teams like the Eagles going through that terrible time in, 06, 07. Like there's just no joy. I get no joy out of that, particularly given that footy's my love, not the outside stuff. But I understand that's part of what makes it tick, and that's why doing the families of the players and just getting an insight behind the scenes, people enjoy that probably just as much as the heavy hitting stories about coaches being sacked or players being relieved of their duties, and we've all been sacked at some stage, and hopefully it doesn't happen too many more times. Might have only been sacked once though, Scully. You got to remember that.
Was there any backlash from you taking over from Tomo? Because like Tomo's loved, is like a family name. That's a household name.
Not at all. Tomo left. He
upgraded.
He just left and went elsewhere for a couple of years. Then, and he came back. Then I got demoted. So there's no. That's just the way it rolls, I suppose. Get a kick in the teeth occasionally.
Yeah, that's good, mate. We might almost finish this up. I reckon it's been a great chat around about media, and certainly appreciate you sharing some time and thoughts on what happened at the Bali bombings, mate. We've never had that chat before, have we?
No, and it's really and we do laugh about the fact that I remember when I did get the redundancy from Seven West a couple of years ago that we were together in a studio.
So Manscaped were presenting SEN. Neither of us worked there, I don't think. I think we were both covers. I certainly was.
Yeah, both sort of fill in type things.
Yeah.
So and I got an email saying come and have a chat tomorrow and bring a support person, which is always a bit of a red flag that you're in a bit of danger. So, and I did see someone ask the question on Instagram about what questions, and I did mention after being removed from Seven and coming back and working with this. I'm not sure if they're being a smart ass or not, but I'll answer the question anyway. So I got made redundant at Seven after leaving Nine after 23 years and then going to Seven and being there for 8 years. Tonight got the lemon. And so I was held on for a while. So as it turns out, and finances have come into play, and the media, as I said, people are getting chopped down. I knew I was a bit of wasn't doing the role that I probably could have or should have. Either way.
Can you remember our conversations? Because we didn't really know each other. Oh, good. So I've left the lasting memory. I remember it.
About
when that was all happening on that night.
Yeah, I was pretty much. You could tell I was like white as a ghost, probably.
Yeah. Can you remember?
No, not really.
I just basically told you, mate, you're going to be fine.
Yeah, I know. And that's what Carl Langdon said. Guys are, I really appreciate their support. And people that, it's nice to get that. And I'll say that because people will lose their jobs at some stage. Some don't. Some have 40-year careers. Good luck to them. And I've had 40 years basically without having too many setbacks. But, that was a tough time. That was like going from that moment in time and then thinking, okay, everyone says, don't panic. don't panic. Something come up. The first thing I did was panic. I'm thinking, I went and met people. I met Steve Harris, Dixie Marshall, Michael Broadbent, a lot of people that reached out to me, and I just to find, okay, what should I do? And it was really nice. So Mario Durazio, people that just kept an ear for me. And I didn't have any, by the way, I had no ill will towards Seven. I was hurt because I, don't like to be seen as, not good enough for any job, but that, that's played out that I'm back doing stuff for them. And to be fair, I'm doing stuff with Channel 9 as well through 6BR. So
he's taken away fan of Scully's bill. 7, 9,
and you know what? I've been very fortunate. They've supported me to be able to do that, and hopefully I haven't pissed off too many people along the way. And at the end of the day, as I said, I've got nothing against what happened with Seven, and I think it, albeit it came at a tough time when my dad was dying, about to pass away on the East Coast, and it was COVID and I couldn't get to him, which made it a pretty average time of my life to get through that. And you're a very young man who will get to that point where you'll have probably bigger challenges. That was the big one for me, losing your job, losing your dad, but you somehow find a way to get through, and hopefully we can have a smile and still laugh about these things.
Well, as much as it hurts me to say, Scout, you're one of the good blokes in media, so you bloody deserve it, mate. And look at you now, you're basically the voice of Perth. So, how
old do you think I am?
Everyone feels young to me. I'm talking.
Who's older or younger out of Dan and I? Well, I know who's older out of the three of us.
But I know you're 35 or 36.
I think it could be 37.
You could be. What do you mean you could be? You know how old you are?
89 I was born in.
Yeah, so what's 11 and 25? 36-ish. Yeah, and I'd say you're probably, because you wear the hat and you wear the glasses, there's a bit of dicky knee about there. I don't know, I'm thinking 33.
Right.
What are you?
36.
Yeah, so I'm around the mark.
All the same age.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm 56 almost. Get stuffed.
We should have a big joint party or something. Mate, I've got a couple of questions from the audience.
Yes.
I know you saw one, but we get them internally. I know you don't know how social media works, but we've got some ones.
Oh, no, I do know how it works. They just keep on potting me. Every time I go on there, it's like, bang.
Fucking mate, don't tell you.
So I'm staying clear of it.
Don't worry about social media.
It means you're important to them because it feels like it's worth saying something.
Well, we've got...
If they didn't care about you, they wouldn't write anything.
From the big fans, it's social media, Skeeter. That's right, not social. You like that? You'll like that more than anyone. You like that, don't you?
That's good, yeah. Who came up with that one?
Who do you think? All right, so this is from the people. You've heard enough from Dan and I. Skeeter, here's some good questions for you. Sydney Harris.
What's the most valuable piece of memorabilia you have?
You're memorabilia, man.
No, I'm not. You know what? One thing I do regret briefly, I've done, dare I say it, with Mouse, a few good functions, a few Richards and Ian Botham, and you know what? I got a photo with Dennis Cillier because I did a function with him a couple of weeks ago. I don't have much. Well, you've been to my place. I think I got a footy and a couple of and I probably should have, but I don't. I'm not a big memorabilia person.
No, neither.
Probably the Logie.
Well, the Logie's,
really
if that's memorabilia,
like
yeah.
A keepsake.
Yeah, I'm a bit embarrassed about that I don't have much to show for 35 years in the media.
But what are you going to do? Sit around your own stuff and tell yourself how good you are?
I don't buy jumpers.
Invite people over, hey, look at my stuff.
I don't
get memorabilia in general, to be honest.
No, I'm the same. But I do understand people, because you're in the side of the bubble, which you are.
Yeah.
And I've been...
What bubble?
Well, in terms of the sport bubble, where
bubble
you
boy.
can go...
Oops.
He's a big sci-fi.
Mate, I was trying to tell him about that. He talking about pretzels. These pretzels are making me thirsty. Yeah, but he had no idea. Anyway, but no, I don't have much memorabilia. But for those that want, I've got some I can get for you at a cheap price.
This isn't an auction.
I can source it for you if you need some.
Mark will be available to host your next event.
Oh,
very good. All right.
That's it. That's the best question we've got, is it?
There's more, mate. That's the first one. Just calm down. Calm down. Lloyd Merritt.
What does Skeet get up to for the 6 months over summer?
Well, I go to Bali in October.
I'm not going in October with you.
But I'm going to the Melbourne Cup, which
Ashes.
I love. We're trying to get the Ashes with the bloke on your right-hand side.
I've booked my flights, by the way.
Oh, great. Well, I've got to do that. I've got to get permission from the opposition leader. Once that happens, I'll do that. Then I'm going to come back, and then I'm going to go to Bali again, I think. So essentially...
I'm going with him. I'm going with him. You got to come? You should come.
Sure. Oh, mate, it's great. We've got babysitters sorted out in my family.
Hosting Wild Water Sports? Or?
No, we'll be hosting Wild Water Sports.
Our work.
Yeah, I'll be doing some work. But yeah, I'll be trying to... No, it's been pretty busy from January or February, basically through until October.
You do a lot of, mate. So what a normal weekend, you could call up to 4 games of footy.
Yeah,
couldn't you?
yeah.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
Sometimes 2 on a Saturday.
Yeah.
I've seen you call 2 in the same game.
Rushing from
2 screens,
Rushing
one mic at a time.
No, what he does, he does them both brilliantly, but he'll do waffle, and then we'll be padding around for him at 6 p.m. He'll come.
screaming through the door, taking off the jacket.
He's never left at half time for a cashy like I have before.
No, but no. So you know what?
You were
I'm
there
doing
for that
4
day.
games. At the end of the day, guys like Paps, myself, Scully, whoever it is, we're doing something. That, mate, most people, if you love your sport, be going, how good is our job? So I'll always say that as tough as it is in the middle of winter, and sometimes turning up to work for a terrible game of footy, it's better than the alternative.
From Gareth JC.
How badly do you want to give Will a clip behind the ears sometimes? Hilarious work.
No, never. No, never.
Oh, bullshit.
No, Scully's mum's asked a question about us fighting, and people have said, "Do we get on?" I'm going, what you see or hear is completely the opposite. We're actually,
Unfortunately, we're good friends.
we're good mates, and we're good family friends, and we're allowed to disagree. I mean, so no.
I'm going to Skeet's house for Christmas this year.
Great.
Are you cooking? Because if it's a yes, I'm not going.
You know that Victoria will be cooking. No,
We'll handle it. We'll handle the.
it can be at times a little difficult to deal with. Yes, but that's. I mean, you've probably had the same
I
issues.
see him every single day.
Exactly. So there'd be some issues, but
I think about what my mum said. Oh, you two want to talk about me? Just while I'm sitting here? You
Just grab
boys
a beer
right?
after this and
You
just-
okay? Goodness gracious me. Not that bloody hard.
no, I didn't. I didn't say I want to clip you, but I can understand people getting
Yeah.
pissed off with you.
Yes.
All right, champion. Maurice Tranquil.
Favorite bourbon?
Now, see, this is the thing. Carl Langdon says to me, why don't you go and buy an expensive bourbon? I say, well, if I'm going to put it with Coke Zero, which I do, why bother spending any more than you have to? So guess what I buy?
Jimbo.
Jimbo.
Do you get
But I do like Jack Daniel. I look at like a nice.
I bought you a nice. Like, we had a nice one together. It was great.
Yeah, exactly.
do you go like the premix can?
No, not unless
Okay.
unless I'm in Bali or somewhere, But no, I'm not. And for what it's worth, I probably on a Friday or Saturday, I probably have a few, but I'm not like just tuning them up on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
You don't have a
Thursday.
flask on you.
No, I don't.
No, Skeeter and I are typical bench drinkers.
Yeah, that's true.
What past sporting event would you like to have called from Liam? Would you have liked that you didn't get to?
I think I love the cricket. I love the Ashes. I love AFL Grand Final Day is amazing. So no, I've done a Grand Final, but that's the stock standard stuff. I mean, I'd love to do a Super Bowl, but I don't think I've got the knowledge to do a Super Bowl. To be honest with
The
you.
gymnastics. I'm
Yeah,
sure
well,
you'd know more about Super Bowl.
And look, any time you get to do live sport is just a bit of fun. And,
Do you do racing?
no, I've called a lot of races in taxis, back at taxis, just with mates. Yeah,
Oh, so do you need to do race calls?
yeah.
Can
Well,
you?
didn't think it was in my repertoire?
Well, I didn't.
Well, like
I'm
another
sure it
thing.
is.
No, I do. Yeah, I do like a mystery race call and stuff. Yeah, I can do it.
Can anyone inquire about maybe those for their next big event?
No, generally, if we were going out for an afternoon out lunch, and we'd put the cab driver in as one of the horses as well, and we have a race call.
Can we lock that in?
Yeah,
That
please.
sounds like a bloody
Absolute
afternoon.
certainty. Yeah.
From Mark.
Jay Fento. Where are you from in Canada?
A place called Dryden, Ontario. I've asked people who are Canadians about Dryden, and they haven't given me an overly exciting response about what a place it is. So I'm not bragging about it. So I say Ontario for what it's worth, which is where I was born.
Okay.
At 11 pounds.
This is a strange question. Choggasgram.
Deserted on an island, who would you eat and who would you love? Or
Who would I eat?
Out of Millsy and Carl.
Who would I eat? I was in a cannibal.
Yeah.
I reckon you get Carl's got a carnivore diet, so he's probably not got as much fat on the bone as what Millsy. And I love both of them, but I'd probably Millsy. Yeah, Carl annoys me more than Scully. In fact, Carl can be an absolute terrorist, can't he? He's 12 goal stuff. Anyway,
Finish off
Love
from the
them both.
Eggman, Dan.
How do you like your eggs?
no, I've become poached, actually. I used to be they were fried, but now that Victoria's had a big influence on my life, apparently poached is better for you. Is that right?
I don't know.
It's more trendy, isn't it? Yeah, it's a bit more. Yeah, well, I've got to head down that path now that I'm a
trendy. Well, I know that's
father of
important
two.
in your life, Skeeter. Hey, mate, been brilliant to chat to you. I got you out the door on time as well.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing the stuff about the Bali bombings and your career. and looking forward to working with you and many holidays to come in the future, mate.
Pleasure to chat, gents, and I like the double-pronged attack. It was very nice.
Very good. So that is BackChat. Of course, you can find all of our stuff, BackChat _ on socials, backchatpodcast.com.au. Sign up as a patron. It'll help us make great content like this going forward. A big thank you to our sponsors, Paywise, powering the podcast in season 2025, ID Athletic, Whippersnapper Whisky, Mumba Digital, TABtouch, Shelter Brewing Co, Leadable Precinct, Camera Electronic, On One Services.
How many sponsors have you got for this thing?
Well, Skeet, I'm going to pay you somehow, mate. Thank you to all of our sponsors and partners. If you do look after them, it really helps us. And thanks very much for joining us.